Well, the family's bitter disappointment comes after police admitted they should have done more to arrest Calocane, who'd previously been detained in hospital 4 times, with a warrant for his arrest being issued months before the killings. What happened to the 3 victims and the three victims who lived, who Calocane tried to kill that day, and what subsequently the agony that the families have gone through has clearly been compounded by what they see as an injustice that's done to them. Their criticisms today were really startling outside that sentencing hearing, when they were saying that the police hadn't admitted that Calocane, that there was this warrant out for his arrest, that he'd attacked policemen, that he was very dangerous, that they had failed, that the CPS had claimed that the victims' families were kept in the loop about whether or not they would be accepting this manslaughter charge on diminished responsibility, and the families say that that simply wasn't true. They basically accused criminal prosecution service of lying to them. So their agony, they believe, has been made even worse by the very people who are meant to be there helping the victims' families. And I felt incredibly sorry for them. And this is clearly a story that's not finished now, in that they were hinting to the press after they made those statements that they would be calling for an inquiry, that they believe there's a lot more to come out in the mishandling of this terrible case. And obviously we'll talk about the effect of knife crime and so on a little bit later. But I think these families have been incredibly brave, having to deal with this whilst dealing with their own grief.
Because they're furious, that's why.
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand that you have to take paranoid schizophrenia very seriously. It's a very serious mental condition. But there's a sort of anomaly. There's a disparity between what the judge is saying about this condition and his mental state and what he's saying about the crimes. Your crimes were premeditated. You hid in a hedge. You know, you committed appalling, dreadful atrocities. But then again, you have
collected all those weapons in advance.
So if it's premeditated, and I thought the most powerful statement was from the mother of Barnaby Webber, Emma Webber, who said this was a trial by doctors. Yes, we have to take on board people's mental condition, but how many more murderers are going to turn up and say, oh, well, you know, I'm sorry I stabbed 7 people, but I've got mental problems, and the court goes, OK, fair enough, we're not even going to send you to prison.
To be fair, though, this isn't... well, I don't really want to be fair, actually, to a killer like that, but I think that there is a sense when somebody is allowed diminished responsibility, there is a feeling, absolutely, and I know I'd feel this too, on the part of the victims' families and the victims, that somehow justice has been denied because they haven't gone through the whole process of the culprit being questioned and interrogated, and you know there is that feeling that there's no closure. But the end result is effectively the same. The guy is still locked up for life.
Yeah.
It just happens to be in a mental health prison rather than in a normal prison. It doesn't mean he's somehow having fun and games and good times. You know, he is still getting punishment. And I mean, Moore's murderers, Ian Brady, ended up in one of those places, I think.
This guy's going to exactly the same place. I think it's called Ashworth.
Yeah.
Exactly the same place
so,
that Ian Brady was in. Yeah.
So it's not like he's got away with it as such, but I think there are 2 separate things, aren't there? Because there's also what you said about all the failings that led up to it, and that is a separate fury.
Yeah, I mean, this cliche, lessons must be learned. Really, in this case, lessons must be learned, because clearly the police and all the mental health institutions that he had come into contact with, the people treating him, who must have known, someone must have known that he wasn't taking his medication, for example, which is extremely serious when you have paranoid schizophrenia. But I'm not sure there's a contradiction between the fact that I mean, I don't see the contradiction between premeditated crimes and the fact that he was a seriously mentally unwell individual. I mean, he planned it all and he collected weapons.
And said he was following the voices in his head.
Yes,
that was what he said.
And you can do all that driven by paranoid schizophrenia.
But
and he tried. He knew he was a danger to himself and others. He tried to get help. And no one... He was failed by the system. I'm not absolving him.
He should have taken his medication then, shouldn't he?
Well, yes, he should, but he's ill. He's very, very unwell.
Oh, yeah, sure.